Hello, hello, and welcome to the DecentraWise Podcast. My name is Pedro.
And I'm Miguel, and you just joined us in our mission to decentralize the world wisely.
Wisely. And this episode is very, very, very
Very,
critical.
very.
Or not. We'll see.
But at least it's
Because
very, very, so it's fine.
very, very critical. And I really think that uh, a lot of people will agree with some stuff. A lot of people will disagree with it. It's very controversial and it needs to be discussed. So that is why decentralized identity is very important, a very important topic. Um, and we are looking forward to get also feedback from the audience. So if
Yeah,
you
guys,
are
feel free to ask
listening
us any questions.
to
We will
us,
gladly try to answer. So, yeah,
join the
this,
join the conversation, and uh, not just for asking questions, also to participate in the discussion. It's very important for us to also receive your feedback from.
yeah, I'm thinking this won't be such a technical discussion. We have a few topics to discuss, but this discussion is mostly not so technical. And that's why we think that your opinion is also important. So feel
Of
free
course,
to send us your points, and we will
this
try
is
to have you joining the discussion here.
this is more like a philosophical matter than a technical, because technically we have the tools to implement whatever we find uh, important or useful, right? But there are a lot of things that are hidden behind this topic, and some people agree with them, some people disagree. So that's the thing. So yeah, so identity. What is identity?
Yeah, I think that's the first point. We need to define what an identity is. Because people will usually assume that it's just something that just identifies you, but it's not. So let's start by defining what the hell is an identity here.
Yeah, let's think about how many identities one has. Uh, Traditionally, we have a civic identity, uh, we have a fiscal identity, we have driver identity, we have
Yeah, but then you have your Google identity, you have your GitHub identity, you
yeah,
have whatever your X identity, you have your Facebook identity. So, what is an identity?
yeah. What is that's the question, and so ignoring the internet part of things, let's go back in time and let's think about the traditional identities. Every service adds its own database or records of some person going there and saying, "Hi, I am a person." And they believed because there was someone in front of them, right? And moving, living being, right? And they created a record because that living being was saying to them that they are there for the first time. So they created a record for them. And they issued an identity number or a record number or a record number in a book, like before computers, right?
Yeah.
And it was like that. The identity was that there was a customer record. But do we really needed that, or who needed that identification in the first place? Was it the person, or was it uh, the institution that was issuing the identity number? Because I really think that persons could live happily without any identification at all. And they lived for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right? It is the question that we want to put forward here is that is who needs the identity? What is the identity for?
It's the first question, so that we can realign what is an identity and what are the requirements for an identity, right? Because if we don't need an identity, then what's the point of having
who cares?
of even having an identity? So what is the need? And we need to define that first. What is the need for an identity? It makes sense in the internet world because everybody has access to Google, so that nobody can access my Google account, right? That makes sense to have an identity there.
That
right?
identity.
You agree with me?
That identity is not an identity; it's a login. I would like to differentiate.
Well, yeah, it's something that identifies you.
Yeah, but it's a login. But an identity normally is something with a higher value than a login. It's like something that uniquely identifies a physical person for an institution.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But it certifies that it's you. So the requirement there,
does it? That's
no, it does not, because you can give your login to somebody else. So it really does not certify that it's you.
Kinda.
So this has a very specific requirement, which is who has access to this information, and that's the owner or who has your login.
Let's not go to logins right now.
Well, it's part of your identity, and if we are going to define the requirements for having
let's think about the regular identity, not the internet world yet. Let's isolate that part for now, because we had identities before the internet, and several of them, right?
Yeah.
And there was a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that was mainly a requirement for the institutions, because they didn't have communication available that we have now, right? And also they couldn't issue a centralized identity for everybody, for everything, because of lack of resources as well, because computers couldn't handle that amount of information, even if they existed.
Yeah.
So if before the computers, this was completely impossible. Good. So an identity is a requirement for the issuer. We agreed on that, right? It's not a requirement for the user or the owner of the identity.
I am trying to figure out in which use case, in which use case you would need to identify yourself, right? So if somebody needs your identification, I'm trying to figure out a use case for that. So admitting you committed a crime and somebody wants to get you, and the police wants to get you, they need to identify you so they don't arrest the wrong person. That's a use case.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why should I want to be identified if I committed a crime?
You don't care. Other people do.
That's the thing, exactly. The owner of the identity couldn't care less. Who needs the identity?
Not the owner. The other people.
Do other people care about
and other people,
my identity?
Well, yeah, if somebody is stealing stuff, stealing houses in the neighborhood, they will want that exact person will be arrested.
What does that have to do with the identity?
Because
you are presuming that there is an identity, but yes. I'm presuming that there is none, right?
So how would you certify that you are arresting the right person?
By catching the person in doing the bad things. That's included in the law. You cannot arrest someone without catching him doing the thing. I cannot say you did it and then you get arrested, right? Yeah, I have to prove it. Or you need to be caught by some authority. That's another discussion for another day. Whose authority is that?
But what's an authority?
Yeah. But you need to be caught doing the thing. Otherwise, it's my opinion and not proof. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we have a problem here. Not even in that use case, the identity means anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out some other use case.
This will be a hard one, guys. This episode is very, or this subject is very controversial and very, very difficult to analyze. Exactly because of these topics, we assume a lot of shit related to identity. And it's not like that. It's not an easy thing. And when we add to the fire other subjects, like more related to the creator community, like different identities for each physical person, then we will have a complete mess, because that is something very common in the creator world, and
not only in
it's
the creator
logical.
world, right? We were talking previously. If you want to have or to make political statements in places where different opinions are not welcome, so you will need to have some sort of anonymity.
That is just one use case, but for instance, in my own experience, I am Pedro, right? Or PRC, technically. So on my technical work, I can be called Pedro or PRC or something like that. And that is one side of me, right? But I am a musician and a DJ, and I have another identity for that, which makes all the sense in this case because actually I am different persons, right? I am the same physical person, but this person that you are watching here is the technical guy. But when people are watching a set of mine and on the DJ table, there is a DJ guy, not the technical guy. I couldn't care less about technology at that stage. And people listening to me couldn't care less either, right? So it's different, completely different persons or personas, if you want to call it that way, right?
Yeah.
And they make all the sense being like that, completely separated, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in common between those two. And if I would write a book, I would have a different persona, probably.
Yeah.
I would call it even another name. And if I would be a professional writer, like in the 1700s, 1800s, right? It would be very common to have several pseudonyms.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but that's one part of the discussion, right? Because that it's different if you are trying to identify the physical person, which is you physically, and all the satellite images that you make yourself represent to, right? So it's two different parts. If an identity should represent you physically, or should represent whatever you want to show to a community.
what I really think that people are trying, and they have been trying it for decades or centuries, is to make an identification for the human being, right? But I don't necessarily agree with that. And that's the problem. Me, myself, I don't, that's my opinion on that. Although I see some useful cases for that, the majority of the cases don't really add up. I think that instead of having something more with the human identity, we will have something less or a lot less, right?
How come?
Because it will be very easy to track, very easy to follow, very easy to use against us.
Yeah, well, we are talking about two different things. One thing is if you are capable of easily identify yourself. Another thing is the whole systems around your identity that can come into place. And I think those are two different discussions. One is, do I need an identity at all? The other one is the dangers of having an identity, because we can clearly build an identity that it's untrackable. We don't need tracking systems around our identities.
If we want to build an identity that is not trackable, then we have to be the issuer.
Well, you have to be the owner of your information.
It's not the information.
Including you issuing yourself, because otherwise, well, you can have a third party issuing your identity, but as long as it's not stored, and you are the sole owner of your information. And I think this is the only way that it can work to have privacy.
That is a problem, because if you require a third party to issue your identity, then you are not the owner of your identity anymore. Then you are
not quite. No, I do not agree with that. Let's go to the beginnings. Okay, so the thing is, you are born. When we, by the time when we were born, we didn't have an ID. We had a birth certificate, right? So that says this guy with this name was born from this person and this person, and that was about it. That doesn't serve as any sort of identity. You didn't have a number. You didn't have anything. Well, actually, I don't know if you had a number. I don't recall. But it was not an identity. It was something that certified that you were born.
That was there was a registry of civil registry where you would get recorded in a book.
Yeah, you still can go and get it, right? Because there is a registry with your name saying that you were born in this day and stuff like that. But that was it. It doesn't serve as an identity. It serves as a bootstrap for you to get your identity. But that's the tracking system that we had previously. In order for you to get your identity, there is this paper that certifies that you are you.
So a certification or an attestation is what you are talking about. That is not the identity. That is
it's two different things.
It's a third party that attestates that something happened.
Yeah.
That is not the issuer.
No.
That is the attestation that something happened.
Okay, my concern about you issuing your identity is that you can issue whatever you want, right? And that may not represent the truth. And
why should it represent any truth?
That's why I was splitting both paths here. Either you want to have any amount of identities that you want that represent any facet of your business or of your life, or you want to identify the physical person. If you want to identify the physical person, you are talking about your single truth. That's the most efficient thing if we don't need anything else. And let's split things here very clearly.
There are a lot of
because
details.
I guarantee there is the need to have aliases. I grant you that's for sure. But what we are talking about, an identity in this sense, is identifying you physically, your DNA, right?
I am perfectly okay with that as long as I agree.
Yeah. I also grant you that.
Right? So I cannot see an identity with my physical information or my scan of the iris or my DNA, whatever methods you can use to identify my physical person, I only accept that as an attestation to my issued identity if I want to, not something that is imposed to me. Remember, institutions can always deny me something, some service or some whatever thing, if they really require that information on my identification, and I don't want it. That's okay. That's life, right? If you go to the police, and the police requires me to have my the police is not a very good problem, because let me
usually the police is the most obvious use case,
let me go back because the proof of humanship, or whatever you want to call that shit, is becoming more critical with the advance of AI, right? Because deep fakes are becoming a more and more undistinguishable reality, and especially very public persons are becoming a target on deep fakes, and they create videos and all that shit saying, putting a public person saying complete bullshit.
In some situation that does not represent them, and that's one of the fears. You not only videos, but you have for instance simulations of phone calls, like calling to your father, saying, "Oh, it's me, daddy, send me some money," stuff like this. So AI will definitely push us to have some way to identify yourself. I don't want to call it identify, because it's better to use the expression of signing some sort of information. So it will at least need to certify that information was generated by you, or that it's you in that information. So which is kind of the opposite, because it might not be you generating the information, but it needs to somehow certify that it's you in that information.
Yeah. But it cannot be just the single use case, right? Because of
I'm saying this because we started saying, well, we didn't start saying, but we said like a few minutes ago that we have the technology to do whatever we want. I don't think we have the technology to certify that it's somebody in some sort of information, because if you put a video on the internet with a deep fake, which is becoming better and better, you will not be able to, with current technology, you are not able to certify that person is or is not that person, or if that video is real or not.
You can certify the video.
Only the issuer of the video, only who made the video, and that's why I was making the distinction not the information, but if certify that it's you inside that information.
What we are going for is to have all the circulating data signed so that we can guarantee its origins.
You know, you need a centralized system to do that.
You don't need.
You need a trust issue.
No,
because if you are issuing and you are signing, and you know that by with the certificates, you need a trusted certificate issuer in order to have a valid certificate. Otherwise, nobody trusts your information, right?
No, actually, GPG proved that wrong.
Yeah, tell me
there is no need. I can create. The problem is that if you want, the problem is that if that is what we're talking about. If you want to uniquely certify that you are a human being, then yes. But GPG for emails, it's easy to certify.
Okay, tell me how. Yeah, tell me how GPG certifies you.
It has my credentials, right?
Yeah.
And how? I publish it to the outside world. My public key.
Okay. Yeah, you did. You did publish and said this public key belongs to a person named Pedro, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just imagine you didn't do it yet, and I do it first, saying that this public key belongs to Pedro, and I'm the owner of the key, saying that it's from Pedro.
You can?
Yeah, I know I can.
Well, but what does that?
What does it do? Grants me that I'm saying that I'm Pedro, and everything from now on that I'm signing with the GPG key is attributed to you.
No.
How come?
Because if I have a different public key,
mine came up first.
Let me see. GPG was designed for email, right? Mm-hmm. If I have my own email account, you create your public key with my email account, mm-hmm. publish it, and then I go and publish mine because I own the address and not you, and you're gone.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gone because my key is still valid.
What is the use case for you to publish a public key with my email if I receive the email?
Not your email. Not your email. Well, not your email. I can just have some fake email, and nobody knows if that email is valid or is fake or not. Well, I'm talking about fake by not being your email specifically, but I can call it PRC2 255, and nobody knows if that email is valid because nobody cares. People will be looking at your GPG key.
But it is a valid.
But your GPG key, I said it was the valid. It was the valid one. And so who certifies which key is the? No. I know. GPG certifies, signs the message. So it certifies that it comes from that email. Okay. So now we have two different emails and two different keys. Which one is the valid one?
I don't care because
but people that will be receiving the emails do care.
No, because what the GPG certifies is that the issuer was that email account, mm-hmm. and if I sign with a different key, it won't work. If I sign with the real key, it will be okay. But don't forget that we have a protocol, the email protocol, that guarantees that someone sent from one email address to another email address. Okay, that is another topic for another discussion, if it's valid or not, and we know it's not. blah blah blah. Okay, but the problem here is that the GPG is a form that is able to encrypt communication and to sign communication that is effective, as long as we know that this person is this person and that person is the other, and that's it.
Yeah,
Right?
and that is correct. As long as you know that, and
And
that was my point, because and I'm saying that I came up with a GPG key saying that it's you before you, but it can even be at the same time or after you came up. So if somebody is receiving an email from me saying that I'm Pedro and please do something, and because this mail belongs to me, how do you certify that it's not me?
or it's not me.
Well, that it's not you. Yeah.
You can't. But the identity doesn't certify that either.
Yeah. The only
That's
thing
why there are millions of fake accounts in Twitter or Facebook.
No, not the same. And you were making correctly making the distinction of a login versus an ID. So they are really two different things, and I grant you that, because they are really different things. Because in this case that I'm talking about, the ID should identify your physical person. It cannot possibly identify any of your aliases, because if it does, I can create an aliases on your behalf.
But you cannot say that it's me, that it's my alias.
Well, I can. I can do whatever I want.
No, but the question here is, do we need to have physical person identification? And we didn't get there yet.
No, I was trying to give you
we spent
one example where
45 minutes talking, and we couldn't figure out couldn't figure out a need for a physical identification.
Okay, let's just go for this example that we were saying, and let's transport this to the AI and a phone call, for instance. Okay.
Because before you go there, my opinion related to that is that it's not that is a known need, because it will mean nothing. But let's go.
Okay.
I am saying beforehand.
Okay, so I can, without a proper ID, I can masquerade myself as you, because I can use technology to do that. Even in the future, I can have this camera just portraying your image and bypassing my image and just portraying your image. So I'm making a video, and what people are seeing on the other side is you. So, and
that technology already exists.
It does. It's just not that good yet, but it will become good, because a lot of technology and hardware for AI is becoming available. So it will be. Now,
it's not
the only thing that the only way that I see to guarantee that me it's not you, it's to have a physical ID somehow. But I don't even figure out how to certify that, because I don't think we have any sort of technology to certify that the person that is showing up is me or you. And that's why I was making the distinction of the person that creates the content, or the person inside the content. And I think it's impossible to identify the person inside the content.
For instance, I was happy the other day that it was the first time in my life that I was able to sign a document, an important document, with my ID, with my signing ID key, and it was accepted by an institution. A real institution, right? That is really cool. But we have that technology for decades. And only now institutions are accepting digital signatures in official documents for real. That is document signing. If we do the same for all the data circulating on the internet, we could think of centuries for that to happen. Just a question.
No, and it may become an impossibility because AI may become so good that it's impossible to distinguish. So what are you going to do? Just parse every document in the web?
You need to sign
verify
everything. You need to sign
and
everything.
It's not signed, but because the problem is not the signing of the publisher of the content. It's who is inside the content, who participated in the content,
who is signing for it. No, the thing is,
do that?
If I create a video and I sign it with my identity, presuming that I have one, then you can figure out that it's me because I signed it.
That's a big assumption, because if you don't have an identity, you cannot sign. And I go back to the certificates that we have today. You need a trust authority in order to say this person is trustworthy. The owner of this certificate is trustworthy, and you have a trust hierarchy there, and that's the only way. But it's centralized. That is centralized.
It doesn't have to be centralized. It can be
it can.
Through the mechanisms of attestation.
I don't know.
We can have it decentralized.
I never thought on that, actually. I don't know the requirements for that, so
the attestation
emit an opinion.
There is always some level of centralization, because an attestation is someone centralized attesting that event happened.
Yeah, that can actually be decentralized.
So there is a level of centralization to that.
That can be decentralized for sure. What I was saying is that you have the trust authorities these days. In order to have a certificate, you need to go through a trust authority, and those authorities are centralized, are companies, and they are fully centralized. I'm not really sure if you can uncentralize, because there is a trust. There is a trust component attributed to those companies. So I'm not really sure if you can decentralize.
You can't, because that is the thing. I go back to my first question, which is, my identity serves whom? I know I am me. No one can convince me otherwise.
Yeah, well, but the other people don't know that you are you. So I can go. Just imagine that you are talking to the phone to some guy, okay? Okay, I'm. You are agreeing on a business, and he wants to make the business with you. And I just overhear your conversation, and before you go, I'll show up there, and I'm saying, well, I'm Pedro, let's do the business. And if the guy doesn't have a way to certify that he's talking to the same person that he was talking before on the phone, I think that creates an issue there. So it's not for you, it's for everybody else.
I don't see that
because you know that you are you. You don't need an identity to prove that you are you for yourself. But other people need to certify that you are you.
Do they?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to argue here.
Because the thing is, if I promise to sell something to a person,
No,
and you
no,
go there,
let's not
let's
get
use that
into it.
use case for now.
Yeah.
You go there instead of me, and you sell
Mm-hmm.
them the same thing, saying that's me, and they are happy with it, then I lost my business, okay, because you did some tricky stuff. And if they are happy, that's okay for them. So they don't require me to be me.
Okay, you are getting into a specific sort of business that
And
does
if I
not
don't,
comply to what I'm
let me
saying.
just
My
finish.
premise
Let me
here.
just finish here. And if they don't uh, if they are not happy, they will go to the legal authorities and, for instance, search security cameras and all that fancy shit that we have, and you will be arrested, not me. So it's fine for me too.
No, okay. So you are entering
So,
into details in order to go around what I was trying to say. Okay, let's pose the example my way. So you just make an interview for to apply to a job by the phone, and I overhear it, like I said, and you go, okay, I'll start working tomorrow. I'll be there at 9, and I show up there at 8:30, saying that I'm Pedro. I'm going to start working, and the guy says, okay, let's go. And then you show up, and you say that you are Pedro, and the guy said, no, you're not. The Pedro is there, so fuck off. And he's hiring somebody that it's not you because he wanted to do the business with you, not with me. So how does he resolve the conflict of who is who?
um, that is not possible.
Yeah, unless you have an identity, and somehow, and this, okay, I think we created a requirement for that, because they're possibly going from this presupposition that you might need to identify other people. And I'm not saying that all sorts of companies wanting to identify somebody is valid, because it's probably not. It's probably not very useful, and it has other components around that. But there is actually a use case for this, for having an identity, that
For
it's
a
not
person,
collecting
there
taxes
are.
and
There is a use case. I am questioning who benefits from it.
yeah, it's usually
And
other people that
it,
it's not you, because you know that you are you.
yeah, so
Let me just answer here to Simon. He made
yeah,
a question that why big companies are not using blockchain to protect their content, because blockchain doesn't actually protect from anything. So what is protecting, for instance, Netflix, is their exposure to risks. For instance, Netflix had, for one example of this is that Netflix had this family, or that you could use your login in several different places, and that was being misused. For instance, that's one example. But they are exposing their content to the world, and they need to secure it. So from pirating
and
and stuff like that, it's virtually impossible to be 100% safe.
Simon,
But they are trying. Yeah.
one thing, intellectual property and protecting, copyright protection are two different things. And this is a subject for another episode, because if we go to that discussion,
keep posted.
If we go to that discussion, then it's a completely different rabbit hole. So thanks for asking. We will do another episode soon about that.
It's a really good question.
Because
but yeah, protecting.
We are here to
stuff.
talk about these things. It's not just the technical stuff. It's also philosophical and all that around the technology, which also makes sense, because we have a responsibility, being the developers of this new world, new decentralized world. We need to be developers. We need to be economists. We need to be philosophers.
And since this is such a huge paradigm change, we need to question everything, because everything will be done in a different way from now on.
If we want to do things
an example of that,
we need to question them first.
An example of that is that if we in the future say that we don't need protection for copywriting or whatever, who cares if people do pirating? It's not pirating anymore. So we need to question all. We need to make all these questions regarding because digital content it's a really a paradigm change. You had problems since the CDs. Right, because people were able to copy CDs into their computers, so they tried to protect the CDs in order for the CDs not to work on the computers, and it doesn't work because it's really hard. It's really easy to duplicate information.
The first attempt was called DRM, Digital Rights Management, and it failed. Right?
Yeah,
because of that. Failed. Digital content is different from physical content. Right?
Yeah.
As well as digital identification is different from physical identification. That's why in the beginning of this episode, I separated all that. Let's keep logins aside for a moment, because digital stuff is different, right? But we will talk about IP and copyright and all that in a different episode.
That requires that is
completely different thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, hope we answered to that. Let us know if you're happy with the with the
blockchain won't help that. It might help in other ways, and we can reach to those conclusions on the episode about rights management. But let's continue the discussion about identification, and we understand that there is a need to identify the physical person. That's a good thing. There is a need for that. Who certifies that?
I have no idea. No idea. It's a problem that needs solving. And like I was saying, you had the birth certificate, which then you could transpose to an identity.
I don't.
So if we can
birth
decentralize,
certificates were faked all the time.
Yeah, I know.
During
that's why it was not an
even
ID.
in recent history, you don't need to go much further in time.
Yeah, no, I was saying because that was the system, right, and that was the process.
So the only way to identify the physical person is probably using characteristics like fingerprinting, scanning of iris, DNA related stuff.
I'm just figuring maybe that's the reason why at least here in Europe governments came up with getting your identity as soon as you are born. It might explain that, because it eliminates the need of having a birth certificate. You have the ID right away. Because
Uh,
even though that you can fake an ID, it's not as easy as faking a birth certificate.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah, no, I just came up with it
I can
because it makes
accept
sense, made sense. Yeah.
I can accept that, but I'm not convinced totally. Um, but let's think. One person, one identity. I don't like that option. I I can see the idea of identifying that I am a real person and I am really me when I want to.
Mhm.
But I want to
It
be able
cannot
to
be when you
be.
want to.
I,
Okay,
it
I
has to
want you
be
to
when I
continue.
want to.
Yeah, no, I want you to continue on that track because I want to explore that track. But the thing is, it cannot be when you want to. It has to be when other people want you to. You can agree on giving it or on identifying
No,
yourself
it
or
has to
not.
be when I want
So
to.
let's go back to the job interview example that I showed up saying that I was you. So if the guy asks me the ID, it has to be him wanting my ID. I can give it or not, but if I cannot give it, he cannot trust the that I'm you,
That's the
that
point
I'm who
that
I
I'm
say.
trying to make. It
Yeah.
has to be
So
when I want to.
uh, okay,
That
I'm
others might
misinterpreting.
require it. I
I'm
am free to
misinterpreting.
comply or not.
Yeah, I'm interpreting crap. I cannot say this word.
Misinterpret. That's a different one.
Yeah,
That's a difficult one to say. Misinterpret.
yeah. So the guy will want. It has to be the other person requiring that I show it, but I'm not. I cannot be obligated to show it.
And actually,
And the
Miguel,
other
there is a
person may
different thing.
decide, okay, do I
There's
trust this
also
person or not?
there's also a different thing, which is requiring to show or requiring to prove.
Please explain.
Because uh, we live in zero knowledge proofs
Mhm.
era right
Yeah.
now, and it's possible to prove
Yeah,
something
without
without
giving up your
showing it,
information. Yeah, yeah, I do agree. And the
right?
tendency is it tends to go that way, right? So you don't
So
have to have to show
why
your
should
ID
I
card, right?
why should I
It just,
share my iris identification
of
to a
course, yeah,
company
yeah, I do agree
or
with that.
whatever other identification
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
people decide to use to identify a real human being if they don't need that information, right? They need
yeah,
to know that I am a real
that it's
human
you.
being
Yeah,
and it's
and
me,
that, yeah, that
period,
it's
right?
something that guarantees that you are the person that you say that you are, and that has to
And
be
now
physical.
and now we go to another thing, which is who certifies that my iris is a proof of me being me, Pedro.
Well, it's kind of well,
This is so fucked up, right?
no, it's not. It
It
works like
is.
a fingerprint. It's something that is very characteristic of you. The only
That
thing is, I think that your iris may change.
Miguel, that just going back to your example of showing up first, it's exactly the same shit, right? If you
How?
go there and scan uh, my iris, if I go there and scan my iris and I say that I am you
No,
to that
it cannot
identity,
work that way. It cannot work that way.
whatever.
Because
Why?
when you create, because when you create your identity, you have to put your, in that sense, you would have to put your biometric information there, like your fingerprint, your iris, whatever, your DNA code, whatever. Uh, so it wouldn't work like that way. It would need to match the information that was supplied when you created the ID.
But I need to create it.
Yes, well, you are somebody that it's trustworthy.
And somebody needs to attestate that my iris is has this
Well, no,
stuff
no,
or my biometrical whatever. right? The thing is, if I fuck things up at the creation stage, we will end up with the same shit. For instance, WorldCoin, they scan irises, right?
Yeah.
I go there with my irises, and then I say I'm Miguel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
The
they're
only
not
thing
doing
that
like
they
that
guarantee
because we already
is
have
that
IDs.
the only thing that they guarantee, but they cannot ask for your ID. Let's
Really?
yeah, and we cannot go by that assumption because we are questioning the ID. So we cannot assume that we have ID, right? The question is about the identification, the decentralized identification. So a centralized ID doesn't matter for this discussion because that's issued by a trusted party, whatever. So
No, I don't agree with that. Because you have a valid ID, so why not use it to propel the decentralized ID?
then you don't need anything else. If you trust that the ID is valid, then you don't need anything else. Why should you care about my
I don't
iris?
care. That's not the point. I don't care
Yeah.
about your iris, and I don't think any biometric data should be in your ID.
And actually, it isn't. But yes.
No, you have your fingerprint there.
On the
Yeah, fully digitalized.
yeah,
And
but
with the certificate.
that's a thing.
I don't agree. I actually don't agree with that. I don't think that's necessary. So
actually, I don't think
know.
right now they are processing fingerprints anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I don't see anything using fingerprints.
Yeah, but anyway, the thing is, we are questioning the identity itself. Not so for that discussion, we cannot make assumptions of other identities pre-existing, right? So if we think that the only way to identify a human being is by using its real identifiable information, like fingerprints, iris scanning, or DNA, or whatever, which is correct. I don't trust anything else to identify I am me, because IDs have been faked. If we go that route, and if we think that this is very important stuff on the AI age, we cannot assume that stuff that has been compromised millions of times without AI will become less compromisable with
No,
AI.
I do agree
right?
with you. It's just that we don't have anything better.
But that's the question. We are trying to build something better here. So let's not assume that we base our discussion on stuff that we already know that's bad, right? But because this is a very important thing when we are discussing decentralized new implementations of new things, because usually people when they start developing a decentralized solution for something, they implement what we have right now over blockchain. And that's not what we should do, right? There were thousands of Spotifys on blockchain. None worked.
Yeah.
Because they are the same business model.
Yeah. We
a different
like
database.
We were saying, we need to question. We need to question the preconceptions of everything. Let me just interrupt you again because Simon's introducing here a very good use case, which is elections. So on online elections, which I think in the future should be done in a blockchain. But there is the problem there that we still need to guarantee privacy. So if you are talking about a private network, it's easy to guarantee privacy. But if you want elections, you will not want that to be in a private network. You will want that everybody has that can have a node at home and have the whole voting process, and that person can guarantee that the voting process was not tampered with. And at least in my view, I think that's the way to go. But you still need to guarantee privacy on the votes. So that's
And privacy
a
is
touchy subject there.
one important subject on identification, because
Yeah.
none of this should be public.
Yeah.
At least publicly recognizable.
But and that's why this is a very good example.
It has to be
here.
publicly
and I wanted to bring it up.
verifiable, not recognizable or linkable.
Yeah. So I need to be able to vote. If I'm voting in my country, I don't want anybody else from other countries to come vote on my country because it's pointless. And I cannot vote more than once. So I need to be identified.
Yeah.
Physically identified. But then I don't want other people to know what was my vote. So my vote needs to be hidden somehow. And that's not possible yet in blockchain.
No, it is.
Well, it is. It is.
It's simple. It's a simple problem because you don't need to be. That's the same thing as Bitcoin accounts, for Bitcoin accounting, for instance. It is superior because of using as many addresses as you want, right? For instance, on Ethereum, you have one address for your account and period. And if you, of course, you can create as many accounts as you want, blah, blah, blah. But then you have to control many private keys and many stuff like that. With Bitcoin, you can just have one private key, as many addresses as you want, and you can have a transaction per address, and nobody can connect stuff without you knowing, and you don't need to identify yourself on either of these systems, right? So the for voting, the only thing that you need is a computation, an algorithm that computes from your country's ID to something on the blockchain, some hash on the blockchain, and that's it, right? So if they have to have your ID to be able to see on whom you voted, and you only share your identification if you want to, right?
You will need to identify yourself on the network. Otherwise, how can we tell that you are electable to vote?
And you can by the network. You should identify yourself, but the votes recorded on the network can be identified by the hashes of your ID, not your ID, literally, right? And also, the votes need to be counted by a third party. So eventually,
it can be counted by your system. You just cannot correlate that one vote belongs to this person specifically.
Yeah,
but you must be able to count the votes yourself.
That's the usage of hashes, right? Mm-hmm. You go from some information to a proof of that information.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. And it's not backwards. It's not reversible. So that's the idea of hashes. So if you have an hash of an ID or a certain identification that you don't show to anybody, like your election number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then nobody knows on whom you vote. They know there was a person voting for that, whatever, right?
But
So
voting
that's the
is
solution.
a very
It's
nice
there.
it's a very nice use case for this subject, and you have both realities that you have to have public data and hidden data or private data. You're saying that biometric stuff should be in digital ID. I only agree with that if you are the sole owner of that information, because right now your government collects all that information. So I'm not a very big fan of that solution. I think it can only work properly if you have your ID and you are the sole owner of the information that resides within your ID.
And it will always pass by something like that. Self-sovereign identity is very important. That's why I was talking about us being the issuers and trusted third parties being the attestations or issuing the attestations. But we need to be the issuers of our identity. And one of the attestations can be something that uniquely identifies me as a physical person, and it's a uniquely identifiable thing to the universe, so that no one can say they are me without being me, right? But I need to be free to choose to whom I prove that.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Right.
But the thing that you are saying, the problem with self-issuing your ID is the same problem as issuing a self-certificate, and because nobody trusts that information. So the only thing that can happen there. So
it's not
why?
because you have attestations, and that's the whole point here is that you have your own identification, and trusted third parties that you request may attestate that some event
but
happened.
they have to have the information.
For instance, you go to the finance department and tell them, I am here, I want to pay my taxes. And they say, okay, you registered to be doing this stuff, right? And they add that attestation to your identification, to your digital or this decentralized identification. And from that point on, you can prove them that you started your activity so that you can be legal and pay taxes.
Mm-hmm. Right? I'm so glad right now.
That's one use case. But once again, that shit is serving them, not you.
Yeah. But let me go back a little bit on what you were saying, because if you are saying that you need a third party to attestate that that information is correct, the third party will need to have that information, which I'm not a big fan of. So what I think we can find a middle ground here, and a solution that, in order for me to create my own identity, is that I cannot change it throughout my life. And I can create my identity, but it has to be with data that it's unchangeable. I'm not really sure if your DNA really changes or not during your lifespan. But if you could decode your DNA and put it into the digital realm, you could create your ID and that would be valid for the rest of your life. So, and you were saying that this person is Pedro, and I have this big hash of information that it's proving that it's me. So I think it would be the only way, but you would have to maintain this ID throughout your lifespan, and it would be valid throughout your lifespan. Then you could create your aliases, alias identities, if you want to go to Twitter and make your shit posts, and go to Facebook and have your online store, and go to whatever, have your different public identities, but you would have the identity that certifies that you are physically you.
I really think that those are separate identities.
Yes,
I can
they
create
have to be
as
separate
many
identities,
identities
yes.
as I want.
Yes.
I just add the attestations that I feel like.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to remove those
need.
attestations, right? I'm just trying to remove those attestations because that will require that the third party will have your information.
But that always requires.
No, not quite. If, like I was saying, if you could decode your DNA and put it into a digital file,
but I can't.
You wouldn't need
I have to go to someone.
Yeah,
to
I know
do
you
that.
cannot. Yeah, but that someone is not
and then
required
that
to store your
someone
information.
Then that someone needs to be trusted. Always. Otherwise, the attestation doesn't mean anything.
No, because it's like a fingerprint. You cannot validate yourself if your DNA doesn't correlate to the one that it's expressed on your ID. But that doesn't solve the thing. Like if somebody's deep faking a video with you, it doesn't solve it.
And it's
that's still unsolved in my head.
And if there is not a single entity controlling the attestations, then you can have several me's.
Come again? Sorry.
You can have several me's. Pedro 1, 2, 3, because if there is no central authority knowing that the keys are overlapping or used by several registry entries, then what's the point, right?
I don't get it yet.
Let's see.
You are talking about the aliases around your identity?
I create an identity that uniquely identifies me.
Okay, a real physical ID, right? So yeah. Let's just assume that you can create a physical identity that really identifies you and that it's verifiable only by you.
Yes. So I say I'm Pedro, and I have this humanly recognizable.
Well, let's go. Your DNA, which you can just grab your hair and you check it. It's me.
Okay. So if there is no central authority attestating that information, I can create another identity with the same information, physical, uniquely identifiable information of myself.
Well, actually,
and say that I am Rui.
No, actually,
sorry for Russian guys. I know it's a bad word.
But
it's a Portuguese name.
Because but actually you cannot do that because if you are going by your DNA, you cannot create a second one because that DNA already exists.
On where? That's my point.
Well, let's give an example of a blockchain. Let's give an example of a blockchain, and it's distributed, so you can have a distributed platform there, a distributed network, which can store the hash of your DNA. It's not identifying you.
So the account is my DNA. Hash.
Yeah, exactly. And you can have sub-accounts, like going from a key created at that time with your DNA, you can have aliases, sub-accounts. That can be a solution here.
So how do I prove that I am myself?
What do you mean?
How do I sign a transaction with that account?
Well, let's see.
Because the point of
I'm talking about
prove that I am myself.
We are talking
right?
now. We are talking about technology and how to do that. So you don't have a way to generate to generate digitally your DNA sequence. That's a limitation for now, and you don't have a way to verify that, because if we evolve technologically to do that, you can have some sort of device that just grabs a couple of cells from your finger and tests
that
it.
is the point of WorldCoin, not the coin but the project, right? The coin is bullshit. It's just
I'm not really sure what are the details on that WorldCoin. I've seen those guys.
They scan your iris, and they create an account for you, and they deposit some WorldCoin, whatever, which doesn't have any use case for now. I don't know if they will find some in the future, but that's the and the project was created by the OpenAI guy. So I presume that it was motivated by concerns about deepfakes and all that.
But
I'm not sure.
But then again, I'm not. Yeah, the iris.
Yeah, and
because deepfake is not just video, right? And if you have sunglasses, how do you verify the iris? And I'm assuming that you can have really, really high resolution videos, which
that's not the point.
I don't know. So
it's the point of creating a human identifiable identity, and
the problem that I see there is that I think the iris is not very stable.
What you just described is what they developed.
Okay. I see. Yeah. Well, the only thing that I disagree that is, like I was saying, I think the iris changes during the lifespan.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, because there are spots that show up in your eyes and whatever, if you have cataracts or whatever. So I don't think you can always verify your identity.
I hope that they have someone in the team knowing about that.
Thinking about that, yeah.
because I don't think it's a blockchain developer role to understand our iris change or not during lifespans. At least not in my role, for sure. But the thing is, that can be one option, but that requires us to have the possibility to have different aliases.
No, I do agree. And like I was saying, when you scan your DNA, you are creating also your private key, your main private key, and then you can
I would much prefer the other way around.
How come?
So that I can create as many identities as I want. Some are connected to my physical being, some are not.
Well, they are only connected by only you know the connection, so it's pointless that distinction there, because only you, like you have in Bitcoin, that you can have other addresses created by the first private key.
Let's imagine one thing. I don't like being identified by my iris or my physical properties.
Yeah.
I don't like it, period.
Yeah, but it's your physical identification, so it has somehow to be identified by you
When I
physically.
have to prove it to a
Yeah,
third
sure.
party,
Yeah, of
not
course.
anywhere else.
No, and
So
I'm saying when you are creating and coming to Simon, that he's saying that somebody can pick my hair and create my identity. Well, right now we are creating our identities as soon as we are born. So I have kids. As soon as they were born, I need to create their identity. So we can create the identity at that time, even a digital one. But the problem there is only you are able to access it, because only you have the physical characteristics of your DNA in this example. If you want to go with DNA, only you have the characteristics to access that information, either to change it, because you can change your name whenever you want. It doesn't really matter, but it somehow it has to identify you at this time with this name, because right now you have this name. And in the case of the interview, like we were saying before, that Pedro scheduled made an interview by phone and then go to the company building and say, I'm going to the company building, saying that I'm Pedro, and I start work there. In this case, I wouldn't be able to verify that I'm Pedro, because Pedro has some other DNA that I don't have, and I cannot verify that.
but how would I be able to prove that I have my own DNA?
To who?
The question is, if we can create our identities and I can request to add to my identity, my DNA, to someone that is able to verify that, I don't care. It can be any institution that is able to do that, that is accredited, I don't know by whom, to be trusted to do that. We have the same validity, I think. So I can choose to be Pedro, or I can choose to be Rui, or I can choose to be whatever name I want, whatever alias I want, and I can connect some of those aliases to my physical person to identify that I am a physical person and nobody else can be the same physical person as me. And to some, I don't add my physical person because I don't want my physical person to be connected to that alias at all. If we have the accounting identification as my physical properties, I lose that possibility.
No,
So
your sub accounts wouldn't. It's not
create,
like they're linked. Yeah, they're only linked by generating a sub key, and it's not linked backwards.
no. If
it's
way,
not linked. It's linked from your physical account to the sub accounts, but not the other way around.
And why should that be? Because
they are your accounts.
But I want to be an identifiable alias.
Yeah, and you can.
No, you can't, because
of course you can.
If someone accesses all the accounts in the system,
how? What all the accounts? You are the sole owner of that information.
You are talking about a blockchain that has accounts.
No, it has an hash
based on the hashes.
No, it has an hash of your DNA, right?
Yes.
If you could do that, it has an hash of your DNA.
Imagining that information is on a blockchain, anyone going through all the accounts on the blockchain is able to go to any sub accounts.
No. How come?
Of course.
No, you are talking about an hash of a DNA sequence. It doesn't have a relation to your public key. Well, it has, but it's not reversible. So you
It's not
cannot
reversible if
identify.
you go
You cannot
from the
identify
alias.
your account. You cannot
Miguel,
identify your account.
Miguel,
The blockchain thing was to solve the problem of duplication, right? So you cannot duplicate it because it's there. It already exists. Nobody else can create another account with your DNA, and only you are able to access it.
Let's go to the Bitcoin example. Any of my addresses belongs to me. If someone knows my public key, they have all my addresses because
How?
they are connected.
Not with your
Right?
public key,
From
with your
the
private key.
address, they don't get to the public key or the private key.
But from the private key, they don't get to the from the public key. They don't get to the private key, and
they get
the
to
other
the address.
addresses has to be
They can get
generated
to
with a
all my
private key.
addresses.
No, not with the private key. No,
from the public key.
Sorry, not with the public key, because if you generate with the private key, it's not accessible with the public key.
No, the addresses are generated by the public key, and anyone can generate as many addresses as they want, but knowing the public key, they can generate them all.
No, they can't. You need a private key for that.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to use
when you create let's go to the certificate authority stuff. So you have a pair for your certificate authority, and this certificate authority generates new keys by using the private key, not the public key.
You are talking about
you would need to give up your private key in order for people, and it's virtually impossible to generate exactly the same keys. So if you start generating keys from your private key, you will always get different keys.
We are talking about different things. For instance, in Bitcoin or anything else, we are talking about elliptic curve cryptography, and with certificate authorities and certificates and key generation is a different thing. Yeah. Here is public key, private key encryption based on the elliptic curve sides of things. It's just a pair of keys, and on certificate authority there are subkeys that are generated and so on. So it's a different cryptographic mechanism.
But I'm talking about I was relating to the blockchain example, because you said from a private key you can have multiple addresses. So I wanted to teleport into that example, but not exactly using the same technology, but because I'm thinking about using the same technology that you use on certificates, because from your private key you can have other private keys that are derived from your own, and you can verify that it's from, even if you have a huge hierarchy, you can certify that this public key comes from this guy.
Yeah, but what we had to the discussion is very little to justify having the main ID.
Yeah, well,
my physical.
No, we are talking about two different things, and now we were talking about connecting your fake IDs or your I don't want to call it fake IDs. I want to call it your roles in life because you represent different roles in life, and you may have an identity for each of your roles if you want to. And I do agree that that's a requirement, which is completely different from your ID. But then again, for you, I think they should be connected for you only, because you are the sole owner of your of that information. So all those are your IDs. They are nobody else's IDs. They are your IDs. So they somehow need to come from
nothing
you.
Serves that best than having completely isolated IDs. Why should I have them linked to my person?
Because they have to be distinguishable from physical IDs.
Why?
Because they do. Because if you want to identify the person, solely the person, physically, you will need to certify. You cannot use one of those.
Let's think about
IDs.
the problem in a different way. Who cares about me being a single person?
In what sense?
For instance, a service cares about me being a single person, but not myself, right? So we have the problem we are trying to solve is that I can only register to a service once as a physical person, like registering to Facebook or registering to X, right?
Yeah.
So that service wants to certify that I only registers once, right? So
you are talking
Pedro, let me finish.
Yeah, no, but I need
Pedro
to make this
identity,
clear. You are talking about the secondary identification, right?
Yeah,
not your physical one.
Both. I am telling that I can simply use my physical properties as an attestation to any identity that I own if I want to connect myself to it or not. So, services that require a physical person to be connected to an identity are services that I am happy to connect to with my identities that are connected to my physical person. So let me explain what's in my head. If I connect to X, right, and I connect with an account that doesn't have my physical person attached or an attestation to it, I'm not verified. So I have an unverified account. If I connect with my account that has a physical person behind it, then they know there is a real person, and they can avoid having another real person, another account being verified with the same physical person, right? So it's up to them if they want to have a person, only one person per account, or only one account per person, then it's up to them to certify that.
Okay, if you register with two different IDs, one physical and a couple of those satellite IDs, you will be able to do that, but it has to be distinguishable from each other. So those cannot be at the same level.
Why? That's the question.
Because how come if you are proposing to have a verified account or not, it has to be a physical account.
My
so
verified
the same
account,
level.
For instance, my verified account on SoundCloud means that I am verified as the creator that I say I am. Right? Does it require a physical person, a single physical person
Yeah,
behind
well,
it?
I do agree
No,
that not all
because I
services do
can
require
be
that.
because I can be have one pseudonym on one creation and another one on another creation, and another creation by a band, and so on. So that service doesn't mean that doesn't
Yeah, I do agree that.
care about physical persons, right? They care
Yeah.
about creator persons.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but there are
I
instances that you are required to be a physical person, and you are required to
on
identify
those
yourself as a
instances,
physical person. And I do
then
agree that online services, in the most majority of times, they don't require to know the physical person.
yeah,
Maybe you can
so
have some differences, little differences in the usage, like you were saying. Okay, this guy is verified, so nobody else can have the same photo, have the same name, whatever. But if you are using a satellite or a secondary ID, yeah, I think most services will be happy with that.
yeah, so that was my point.
Yeah.
Decentralized identities,
But
I can have as many as I want. I can issue as many as I want. I hold the private keys for any of them. We don't need to have a connection between them. I can decide to which I connect physically. I would love that. Why not?
because one has your DNA and the other doesn't.
No, I can have several with my physical identification.
Yeah, but not with your DNA.
Yes. Why not?
How? We just said that we would put that on the blockchain so it cannot be duplicated, so nobody else can grab your hair and create an account.
That's what I don't agree. I don't agree for that to be the identification on the blockchain.
Then how can you physically identify somebody?
Because I have the attestation that I am physically that DNA on each account that I want to connect that.
Yeah, but then I can pick one of your hairs and create an account with your DNA, which kind of sucks.
It shouldn't be like that. It should require a physical property that it's not possible to.
You don't have one.
Then we need to solve that problem first.
Yeah, right? Well, it's just not go your path. Just go my path. And my path solves that.
No, that doesn't solve that, because you can create the account with my hair.
No, anyway. I cannot, because it's already created on the blockchain.
Who created it?
My parents when I was born. Just the same as you do with your ID right now. When your kids are born, you create their ID.
So we have IDs. Why should we have that?
Because it's a distributed ID, which you are the sole owner of your ID. So it's better than this one.
And I was born in a third world country.
And it's not falsifiable.
No, I was born in a third world country that doesn't have that yet.
You don't have an ID. You cannot identify yourself.
You grab a hair and you say it's me.
How come? I didn't get it. Sorry.
Someone was born in a third world country, and then you are a bad guy, and you want to identify yourself as someone that doesn't exist in your country. So you grab her hair, you create an identity.
You cannot verify yourself. Yeah, you cannot verify yourself with that information. So if you want to validate that you are the person that you say that you are in the ID, you cannot validate that because you don't have that DNA. It's not verifiable. It's not verifiable because I don't have that DNA.
If I create an account, I have the private key.
No, it doesn't really matter because it's unverifiable. If you want to verify yourself against somebody, you cannot verify because you don't have that DNA. It's like a fingerprint, right? You can't grab somebody else's fingerprint,
but the blockchain doesn't.
But then again, it's not verifiable. No, it doesn't.
If the blockchain doesn't serve as a verification, there's no point in having a blockchain.
The blockchain was only to stop duplication.
So any database is okay.
Not really.
A unique key on a database is
enough. Yeah, but the database is not distributed.
But who cares about the duplication?
And it's you can forge it.
We go back to my question first.
No. We are not going back because you are not getting it that you cannot forge blockchain, and you can have, and you have, everybody has access to the blockchain, and it's not like a private database that you have somewhere. So you cannot duplicate it. Yeah, you can have a private key on some database, but then again, you can forge it. On a blockchain, you can't. So it's solved like that. And the thing that you were saying, okay, I can go to some third world country, grab a hair from somebody, create an account. I'm just creating the account for that person because that person is the only one that has the DNA that can be verified against that account.
But blockchains don't verify DNAs.
Not the blockchain. The blockchain doesn't need to verify anything. You can have devices that just verify it. They are consulting the blockchain. The blockchain is not solving it.
So what's the point of the blockchain in the first place? If you have the DNA,
cannot tamper. You cannot tamper with the blockchain.
You cannot tamper your DNA. It's solved. You don't need a blockchain. Not.
What do you mean? How come? I can grab your head. The difference here is that if I have a database, I can go to a database and alter the register.
Man.
And on the blockchain, you cannot do that. So as soon as your kid is born, wait up. As soon as your kid is born, you create your kid's identity, and nobody else can forge it anymore because it's already there.
The point of having a blockchain is to have something done with that account. It's not just create an account.
No. It's in order to have a distributed system where your ID cannot be falsified.
That is not a blockchain. That is a registry.
Yes, and the blockchain is also a registry.
No, a blockchain is something that has accounts. It's a ledger that does something with that information. It's not just a store of accounts.
I'm not reducing a blockchain to that. Well, I was reducing a blockchain to that. Yeah. Because you can have a specific blockchain for that.
So
you are talking about general purpose blockchains, and I'm talking about a specific purpose blockchain.
No, I'm not. I am talking about the use of a blockchain. What's the point of just creating an account and consider that a blockchain? What will you put in blocks? It is not a blockchain, right? What you are talking about is a registry, and that's why I was saying
the blockchain has other characteristics. One of them is that it's a network. It has blocks, so it cannot be falsified, and you can store the information there.
Blocks.
Sorry?
What do you store in the blocks?
What do you mean? If you are registering yourself, if you are, well, not yourself, but your kids, you are putting the hash of the information and maybe the name, I don't know, birth date, stuff like that.
What do you store in the block?
The public information, your public information, like your name, birth date, stuff like that. It's public, maybe.
Who verifies that?
And the hash of your DNA, which is the
who verifies that?
What do you mean? It doesn't need to be verified.
Of course, if a blockchain, one of the characteristics of a transaction in a blockchain is to have a signature. Who signs your public information to say that it's real?
Your parents, the same way that you do now.
With what?
What do you mean?
That is the question. A blockchain needs to be verifiable. So you need to have
you are talking about
key
You are talking
private key
about
mechanism to
verifying
sign
the
for shit.
transactions. You are talking about the transactions, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a different thing.
If you consider that a registry is a transaction, then someone has to sign it.
Yeah, your parents.
And who signed theirs?
Well, maybe nobody.
It's not. It's
So
not a good use
the
case.
first one, well, it's the best that you have. So
No,
right now, who
the
did
best
who?
the
Wait
best
up,
solution for that
who
is
did?
doing it the other way around, which is you having a pair of keys like you have on any blockchain, and you create your own account, which is a public key, private key pair, and to that account you connect whatever information you want in transactions, and special accounts like trusted accounts are issuers of attestations. And those issuers, if they are accepted by the third parties, they are valid issuers. If they are not, they are not valid issuers, and they don't accept it. And those issuers need to sign transactions to attestate that something happened to your account. So adding information to your account. And then you can create proofs of that information to third parties with your private keys. This is a complete different thing, because if you create an account based on a physical property, you have no private key to sign for it. The only way you have to verify that is to put your physical properties up for identification, which would require a DNA exam or something like that. So that is possible, but it's not a use case for blockchain. It's a physical use case. So for a blockchain, you can attestate, like your public health organization might have a way to attestate that you have that DNA, and then you can prove to third parties that you are you, right? Without requiring a DNA exam. You have that attestation already on your account, and you can prove to third parties that you are you.
Yeah, but that requires third-party authorities.
Yes, and it will always require.
No.
Yes.
No,
it will always require. Otherwise, you will go back
and again, you are not the owner of your information. Other third parties own your information.
So, what can we take out of this whole discussion is that decentralized identities don't serve any purpose, because there's always a level of trust.
Yeah, we are still failing to see what is a good use case for distributed IDs. We were talking about elections, maybe it's a use case.
But if the distributed
still,
ID,
you don't need a distributed ID.
You can use your
current ID. Yeah, you can use your current ID to do that. Yeah.
So there is no decentralization possible.
There's only one thing. There's only one thing, because right now your government stores your information, and I was also trying to remove that. So in order not to have that in the equation, and that's why we follow all this track to store your DNA, whatever information in a blockchain, was to avoid your government to have your information.
Yeah, and
And
that's
then
impossible.
devices would be able to just check your DNA somehow, hash it, and compare it to what's in the blockchain.
That would be let's see. If we could have some device doing that shit in
Yeah, well, I began
you
saying that we don't have the technology to do that.
fast enough.
We don't even have a way to sequence our DNA, right? Let alone
If
hashing it.
we would have any device able to do that stuff in a way that we could use it for easily and fast, that would be
Yeah,
the
we don't have
way.
that.
But that would really create, I think, more problems than
No, it solves all the
solutions.
things. It solves all the things. The only thing is technology wise, we don't have it.
So, what is the solution for decentralized identity?
Don't have it. Well, the only advantages that I see was not to supply the information to your local government. You would be the only owner of your information.
But you
But
need always third parties to make attestations on your behalf.
no, not really. No, you're
Yes,
opposing that thing who gives you the information to the people that it's not on the system, and that's not the use case. You need to provide for those exceptions in some way, even if you will need to trust those first people. But then again, that's a requirement since the beginning. When you created the first ID, you also needed that because your parents didn't have an ID.
you're
So how
going
could you
back.
certify that those parents were
You're
your
going
parents?
back to the same thing that I already proved
No,
to
no,
you that is
no.
not
Yeah,
possible.
I know it. Well,
It's
it
not
is
possible to
possible.
be the key to the
You can
blockchain.
have a general
Your
key, a genetic
No,
key,
because
like
you don't have a
government
way
key.
to prove yourself. That's the problem. So with the current technology that we have, your DNA cannot be the key. Period. Right? Your DNA needs to be an attestation on your account so that it can be used, so that you can uh, sign for your own shit with some other way. Right? You cannot sign with your hair or your iris or your DNA. That's not possible, right? Someone has to sign for you. So I would prefer to have someone verifying my DNA once, and I have the possibility to sign for my own shit. And if I want to prove that I am the owner of that DNA, I have a way to prove it, and that's it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, there's no solution for that because we don't have technology to create accounts and
yeah.
make
We
them
don't have the
useful.
technology for any of this. The technology has to be developed.
But we have technology for blockchains, and if you
Yeah,
use
well, everything
uh,
that we have, you can, if you invest some time and resources, you will have a DNA sequencer right out of the box, and you will have a device that can create an hash on that sequence. So it's not far fetched to have any of the two solutions.
I
The
don't
only
see
difference here,
I don't see
is that
the
in my
the
solution,
solution.
you would need to trust the first people. Yes, that's a requirement there. On the other hand, you would on your solution, we would have to have some trust authorities, which I
This is not
kind
my
of
solution.
dislike.
This is the solution that
No, the
is
solution
being
that you
implemented.
provided. Yeah, yeah,
It's the solution that is
yeah.
being implemented right now on blockchain.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
The the thing of having us
from that to WorldCoin, guys.
everything. Like if you go to Polygon ID, is the same thing. It's the attestation thing. So you have an account and you add attestations to it.
Yeah.
And those attestations verify something. For instance, verify that you have a course of some kind, or verify that you are the owner of something, or verify that you are the person that you say you are. And that's it.
Right.
So this is what is being implemented right now. And what I was trying to discuss is that, does it matter to be uniquely identifiable or not?
Yeah, I think in some cases, I think you have the two use cases. Yeah,
we have both.
To have a physical ID and have virtual IDs. I keep calling different names because I didn't reach consensus in my head.
They can be an account, and to some accounts I have a connection to myself. To some accounts I don't.
Yeah,
and I'm happy with that. I don't see any need for anything else further than that. Anything else further will remove my freedoms.
Yeah, but then again, how can you distinguish between a physical ID and a virtual ID?
If it has a connection to myself or not. I can choose to have a connection to myself on several accounts. But on some accounts, I don't have a connection to myself. And people know that I may not be a human being. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but publicly, even if you derive your accounts from the first one, people cannot connect you there because those keys are
then there's no point of deriving it. Why should we? Right?
No, because you need to distinguish which one is a virtual ID and which one are physical IDs.
No. The distinction is up to me to decide if I want to be connected with it or not. It's exactly the same outcome with a lot less risk.
Yeah, probably. Right? Yeah.
So if I have many accounts and to some I am connected, the only thing that they require is to be a physical person behind that account. And that physical person cannot have two accounts on the same system. That's okay. On some systems, I want to be Pedro. On some systems, I want to be Rui. Why not? And they know that is a physical person behind it because I have my DNA attestation, whatever we call it. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and if I think you are creating a risk there of duplication, the DNA. So that's the reason that I didn't go that way.
But it's not a problem because people on the consuming systems will know they either allow me to register with two accounts and they know that it's the same physical person because they have the attestation, right? Or they don't allow, and I have to choose if I want to be Pedro or Rui on that platform.
Yeah, and you need third-party authorities for that, which I also don't like. So yeah, well,
but it will always be required.
Yeah, well, no, not really. Not really.
Why not?
Yeah, because like I was saying, you don't require that in the way that I was saying. The only problem that you found there is that the first people that will be registering, their parents don't have a DNA sequence.
No, the only problem that I have there is that you don't own the authority to do anything with your account because your account is based on your DNA and not on a private key. You cannot sign with your DNA.
Your private key comes from your DNA sequence.
How come?
Well, it's information that you get from your DNA, and you can put the DNA to generate the private key. You can put any sort of information to generate your private key.
But you cannot sign digital stuff with your DNA.
No, but you can sign it with your private key, which comes from your DNA.
Then what's the point of it coming from your DNA and not a
because it's directly linked.
Once again, what's the point?
Because it identifies you. It identifies your DNA actually.
And someone with access to your DNA can create your private key.
How come?
If it comes from your DNA.
No, because if you pick the same information and you generate a private key, it will always generate a different private key.
Oh, what?
If you try to generate a private key, it will always generate a different one.
No. For instance, if you use the same seed phrase, you will get the same private key. If the seed phrase comes from your DNA, then anyone with access to your DNA can generate the private key.
Yeah, but right? Nobody has access. Well, they can, yeah.
Checkmate.
They can also go to your authority and say that, well, I'm this guy from the hair.
Okay, guys. After this 2 hours of discussion, we reached the conclusion that
don't do it.
Digital identification.
It was a good exercise.
But
it's pointless. You don't need it. You can use your current identification because your government will never give up your information. They require it to do their business. So the thing is, if they are pushing to move into a distributed ID, it has some other interest.
Agenda.
It's not your interest.
It has some agenda.
Yeah,
that's it.
It is.
So.
And convenience, to be convenient, it's not good enough. Good enough for that.
We were trying to really hard. Yeah. It took 2 hours. We were trying really hard to find a use case that is meaningful.
Yeah, and that would be safe. And it's
and
not
don't
easy,
get us wrong. We were trying really hard. We saw you saw it. But you couldn't. We couldn't find anything that makes any sense.
And if you guys come up with something, ping us, drop us a message. You guys also have our telegrams, so go there and try to make a use case for that. That it's
so
not
philosophically
that it's actually your interest to have and not.
So philosophically. What this means is the less identification you have, the more free you are.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any interest for the person in being identified. We tried really hard to try to find a solution based on physical characteristics that could be interesting, but yeah, we will only lose freedom if we go for something like that. I prefer to have deep fakes in my life and memes and all that shit, and not knowing if Donald Trump said something. I don't really care if he said it or not. If it's something funny, I will laugh. If it's not, I will probably not watch it because I don't really care. So I prefer my life like that, and being a little bit free as we are today than not being free and knowing that Donald Trump didn't say that shit.
Yeah.
This is my conclusion of this episode. If you have a different one, share with us, and it might be interesting to discuss in another time.
Yeah. We might come back to this if we have new information, or if we find a way to make it safe and useful for you. But until then, it's a sketchy thing.
Yeah, it's an agenda, and let's probably try to avoid it, right? So, anyway, besides that, the usual thing.
Yeah, you guys don't forget it. Yeah, you guys forget to like and subscribe. We did not push you to do that yet because we cannot identify you guys. But please like and subscribe. And if you really enjoy our content, don't forget to share. It's very useful for us to put other people watching, even your friends. So yeah.
And after that, thank you for joining us in our mission to decentralize the world wisely. And let's
see you in the next one.
See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.